some of the things that have frustrated me over the years, I've tried to surround myself with people that can help me get me to where I want to go, because I'm crystal clear on my vision, on my mission, what I want to do, my core values, what the core values of the company are, me personally, my faith and where it stands in there, my impact foundation. And it's the hardest thing that I do. I'm sure most people, everyone's busy. It's just, are you being busy doing the right things?
You are listening to the Pursuit of Excellence podcast, episode number 18, titled Todd Durkin's Why Behind His What, brought to you by Carlisle Performance Systems, located in San Jose, California. Visit our website at carlisleperformance.com for info on our latest training programs for business execs and athletes. On to Todd Durkin. He is the owner of FitQuest 10, which was named one of America's top gyms by Men's Health for the past 5 years. He's a 2-time Personal Trainer of the Year, author, international speaker, and most of all, a family man. In this episode, Todd Durkin, a man who embodies excellence, gives great insight into Todd the man and what drives him to serve others. Without further ado, my friend, Todd Durkin. How you doing, TD?
DC, doing great, man. Great to be here. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. This is an honor. It is an honor to have you on. So, TD, your boy broke the NFL all-time passing record. Do you have a chance to attend?
I was down there in New Orleans, and it was an unbelievable experience Monday night, seeing Drew pass that record against the Redskins. It was one of those surreal moments. I literally got emotional watching the game. He needed 201 yards to break the NFL all-time career passing yardage. And, man, he did in the second quarter. He had a heck of a game. They had a huge win. And it was just – and Dwayne, I know you've had many of these moments with your athletes and clients as well, but it was one of those highlight moments in my entire training career.
Oh, I couldn't imagine. Seriously, I could not have imagined all-time passing league. And how long have you worked with the great Drew Brees?
15 years. It's been 15 years. You know, he's been in here, and I think that's what makes it remarkable. Is, you look at a guy like Drew, who is, he's not the biggest, he's not the strongest, he's not the fastest, he doesn't have the best arm, but now he's amongst the immortals. He's amongst the best.
Yeah.
And he's been going 18 years now, and I've been with him 15 of those years, and it's been pretty amazing. It's a pretty remarkable ride, and from pretty much every January, February when the playoffs are done, he takes a couple weeks off, and from then until pretty much July, other than OTAs, he's here training.
One of the things I thought was remarkable when I visited your facility, about 8, 9, 10 years ago.
No.
Yeah. Well, you remember you invited me down for that mastermind to speak at your mastermind group. That was the first time I had been down there. It was 2008. So it's about 8 years ago. 10 years. Whoa, math. 10 years ago, right? Yeah. And the thing I found remarkable was how you were able to create an environment where elite level athletes like Drew Brees and LaDainian Tomlinson and Sproulsy, all those athletes were working right within your environment alongside the general population. I thought that just blew my mind. How were you able to create that?
That's always been my philosophy, Dwayne. It's from the start, I always wanted to get people better. That's what drives me. I don't care if you're a kid, if you're an elite pro athlete, or you're a grandma, grandpa. I literally used to have LaDainian Tomlinson training amongst grandmas. Yeah. And they loved it, and he loved it. Yeah. And Drew is no different today. I mean, that's part of the culture that I've established, is like, I really don't care what you do for a living. It's if you have the desire and drive to be your best, we're all here for the same reason. We want to get physically strong. We want to get mentally strong. We got to get fortified. We want to soak in some great energy. We want to feel better. And that's what the culture that we've done. People say, hey, why don't you have an athlete performance only facility? I'm like, why would I do that? Like, to me, everyone's got that mindset of like, they want to get better. Why am I going to separate a certain population and say, okay, athletes over here and everyone else over here? Like, to me, it doesn't matter, man. If you want to get better, you get into an environment that's going to allow you to excel, and then magic can be created.
I think that says something about the players who are working at your facility and their mindset, and they're not looking at themselves as being above reproach or above the other people that they're working with. Because I've seen certain scenarios where athletes didn't want to mix with the general pop. They just wanted that me time with the trainer.
Yeah, I always tell them to get over themselves. I mean, sometimes egos get too big, and maybe I don't attract those clients or those athletes, but I think sometimes when we get success, we can forget who we are and where we came from. And I morphed into two facilities now. My original facility I call the Roots, and the lower facility here is the facility where I created in 2006. 6 years after I opened the lower training facility. I love going back to the roots and telling our athletes, don't forget where you came from.
Right.
Humble beginnings.
Right.
Most high-level athletes came from humble beginnings. Go back to the beginning. Go back to when I had no clients, no money, no business plan. Go back to when you were playing high school football and you were scrapping and you had the dream and desire. Don't get fat if you have some money in your wallet. Man, you better be thankful and grateful for that, because it might not be there next year or in a couple of years. And just because you have a job that even makes a certain amount of money or gives you a platform, that just allows you to actually create more impact in the community. So it doesn't make you any better as a man or a woman. It just gives you a better platform to go create some impact.
Yeah, well said. Well said. So speaking of where you came from, let's talk a little bit about TD's journey.
How far do you want to go back?
Well, let's just talk from high school. High school to William and Mary, a little bit Cliff Notes version.
Yeah.
Your experience in working with Mike Tomlin. I'm being his QB.
Yeah. Interesting enough, I grew up the youngest of 8 kids, and growing up with not a lot of money. My parents were divorced. I was the lunch ticket kid. It instilled in me a work ethic and drive that I really didn't understand at the time. But even now, I still have that same fear for my own kids and for me, that someday there could be frugal times. And that was just instilled because that's who I am and where I came from. And when I was in high school, I knew that the only way for me to go to college was going to be through athletics. And I worked my tail off, and I really, in the weight room and in school, and I guess I didn't party much, and I did things the right way because I wanted to go to a good school. And I had a couple military appointments to West Point, the Naval Academy, at William & Mary and Rutgers and James Madison to choose amongst. And for whatever the reason, I'll call it a God thing, I went to William & Mary, and which is a great school down in Williamsburg, Virginia, and had the opportunity to play down there and captain the team, and also to work, as you just mentioned, with future NFL head coaches Mike Tomlin and now also Sean McDermott with the Buffalo Bills, who was
wow.
2 years younger than me.
Okay.
And it was a great environment to both thrive academically as well as athletically. But part of my story is when I was competing for a starting job in college, my best friend, my mentor, my everything, my father, had a massive heart attack when I was a junior in college, and he passed away. And I remember it was like literally the week before spring ball started, and never had I faced that adversity in my 20 years of life of like not even wanting to play football. It didn't even matter anymore. It was more about life. And I remember being in Williamsburg and flying home and even thinking about not going back to school and just getting in a car and driving out to the West Coast and just kind of like getting away and escaping everything that I'd worked for my entire life. I took 3 weeks off over that time in my life, and it challenged me. I challenged my faith. It challenged my core beliefs. And looking back, it was the toughest time of my life, but it also was one of the most formative times of my life because I actually strengthened my faith and I leaned more on God to get me through some tough times. And, after that, I didn't feel like football had gotten everything out of my system, and I didn't have the director out to the NFL. So I thought the next best way would go to play in Europe.
Yeah.
So I went over in Europe and I played in the European Football League and the World Football League, and that's where I ended up hurting my back. And, I ended my career that way with 3 herniated discs, spinal stenosis, and degenerative back disease. And I remember being on a field in Aix-en-Provence, France, lying on a field and thinking, man, what's next? Because for 25 years I had worked to play football and to fulfill my dream. And what I didn't realize then is that God had a different plan. For the next 5 years, I literally traveled the world, training under gurus and seeking out people that could help heal my back pain without having surgery. And I did that. And I live in 13 different cities in 5 years,
Wow.
just seeking out my own. It was to save my own health at that time. But I was also getting an education in healing and performance and what it takes, not only as a quarterback, but as an athlete, and in strength and conditioning and speed and everything else, and learning what fascia was and connective tissue was. I got this whole other education beside my undergraduate in kinesiology, and even in addition to the massage therapy certifications and strength and conditioning certification that already accrued in my off seasons. So that led me to, in year 2000, opening up my own little studio, The Roots Fitness Quest 10 in year 2000. I didn't have any clients. I had no money. I had no business plan, but I had a dream.
Yeah.
And that was the start of something special.
Boy, it sure was. It sure was. Now, thank you for sharing that. TD, one of the things that I've admired, the many things I've admired, is how you balance everything. I mean, there was a cartoon when I was a little kid. I don't know if you ever saw it. It was a skunk, and then you're not a skunk, but no, look, the skunk's name was Savoir Faire. And he used to say, Savoir Faire is everywhere, right? I don't know if for those who speak French, excuse me, but you're everywhere. And how do you maintain excellence across the board with all the different things that you do?
Yeah, well, I think there's a few things, Dwayne, and I'm certainly not perfect by any means. And it's the constant challenge of trying to be my best in the many hats that I wear. I think now, 18 years later of having my business and having my hand in lots of different things between Fitness Quest 10 and, my speaking and my writing, my Mastermind Group, all the things that I do, I've identified the 5 things that move my soul.
Okay.
Like, I know what moves my soul. And when an opportunity comes up, if it's around one of those 5 things, the answer is yes. If it's not around one of those 5, then the answer is no. The first thing is family. I really love family time, and I value that. So I'm constantly making decisions of, is it worth the trip to Russia or to Europe to do a talk if it's going to take me away from something that I want to attend for my daughter, my 2 sons, on that. But I know what I love to do. I love to train, coach. I love speaking when I'm doing a talk in front of hundreds or thousands of people. I love writing. Writing moves my spirit. I love writing. I need to be writing as part of my 13 rules of life. I need to write 30 minutes every day, and whether it's journaling or working on my next book project, I love to write. I love leading. I love leading at Fitness Quest 10. We've got a team of 42 people here. I love leading them. It's one of the hardest things I do. It's one of the most important things I could do in creating what I've created here at Fitness Quest 10. And then again, family time is just, how do I prioritize? If you want to see someone's priorities, look at their calendar. And I literally step away. I'm doing a lot more strategy time now on where can I spend my time and how can I best spend my time. And the question I ask myself every single day, to answer your question, Dwayne, is how can I best use my time right now? And what I'm doing with my time, is it the most valuable thing I can do with my time right now? I've identified what's not as valuable, and I've hired people to help me in those areas, right? So some of the things that have frustrated me over the years, I've tried to surround myself with people that can help me get me to where I want to go, because I'm crystal clear on my vision, on my mission, what I want to do, my core values, what the core values of the company are, me personally, my faith and where it stands in there, my impact foundation. And it's the hardest thing that I do. I'm sure most people, everyone's busy. It's just, are you being busy doing the right things?
Speaking of which, of your 42 members of your team, the one person who stands out, and there are many, but I remember her name, Julie. She is unbelievable. Like when I got there and visited your place the first time 10 years ago, Julie was there, and her spirit is inviting, tremendous level of comfort that when you get around her, you feel a peace and you feel like, hey, you know what? She's got it. And every time I come by your spot and I see Julie, I mean, she's just a joy. How have you cultivated, how do you go about selecting people to be part of the Todd Durkin Fitness Quest 10 team?
Yeah. Great question, Dwayne. I am blessed. I have a great team of people. I don't know if I so much select them as they select me, because, example, Julie, who's been with me for 13 years now, 13 years.
Wow.
You got to realize she was a client first. She was a client of Fitness Quest 10s. And when I was looking for a GM at Fitness Quest 10, Julie was training, and I had heard she used to work at Nordstrom's for 10 years, and she was in the restaurant business. So my ears went up, and it was like, wow, she knows customer service.
Yeah.
How do I get her to get back in the workforce? And when I approached Julie about becoming the general manager at Fitness Quest 10, she gave me this funny look, like she's like, I don't know anything about fitness. And I was like, perfect. I was like, what you know is everything about customer service. I could teach you the fitness side of management and leadership, but I love the customer service side. And man, I've got some soldiers on my team, and Julie, she's one of my right-hand people. She knows the business as well as I do. She's great with people. She's great with the team. Yeah, she's been with me for 13 years, and I've got some loyal folks. And I think one of the things too is if I don't grow, they don't grow. So I think the leader has to keep growing, because if I'm not inspiring them, then they're going to be off doing something else. And I try to empower them to grow as well and support them in their own personal growth also. So I do lead personal growth workshops for our team here, and I encourage them to attend that. We have recommended reads here at Fitness Quest 10 amongst our team. I'm constantly challenging them to go to other live conferences, not just the ones I'm speaking, presenting at, but get outside of me also. I think it's important that they hear from another voice so that they can appreciate what they have when they are here. Because although I'm one of the leaders here, I look at the kind of like a CSO, the chief spiritual officer. That's part of what I do. But man, with being on the road, 42 times this year in 2018, there's a lot of times I'm away now. And what's important is that I'm away traveling and speaking and presenting and doing what I do, is that the culture stays the same. The energy is high. The level of care is at its high. And, Julie helps oversee a lot of that.
So what does Todd Durkin do to grow?
Great question. I do a lot of things. First and foremost, it starts in the morning for me. My own spiritual growth is, it's everything. I couldn't doing what I do without my faith. What I've realized is the more success you have, the more you get challenged, the more people will challenge you, the more negativity will try to seep in. And to me, it starts with my own faith. And that's a challenge for me too, because I'm busy and I've got to get it in. I've got to prioritize that because it's the easiest thing to let go. So it might seem kind of like, just as I'm speaking, like, oh yeah, he gets his faith in. Guys, this is as much of a challenge it is for me as anyone else. If I don't get up, at 5 o'clock and take the 20 plus minutes to open up the word and get in there and study scripture and to journal. And the thing that I've most been trying to focus on right now is quiet time, of like listening more than talking.
Yeah.
Like when I look at prayer, it's not just praying to God, but it's actually listening to little voice on my shoulder. Because I think that's where a lot of the strength and power and wisdom is found, is in the whispers and not the shouts. And I guess I could say I listen to a lot of podcasts. I do 30 minutes a day of podcasts or reading. I do a lot of podcasts. I read books. I attend many live workshops in personal development outside of fitness as well as in fitness. I'm always trying to study. I'm very careful of what I don't watch on TV or on Instagram or what I'm listening to, like this wonderful podcast, Dwayne. I'm very, very careful of my filter of what comes in. But I'd be remiss, because if I didn't have the faith component dialed in, I'd get weak. I'd become mediocre. I hate the feeling of being mediocre. I hate the feeling of being average. I hate the feeling like I'm not fulfilling my purpose. I despise the fact of, if I'm not leading my team the way I need to, then I need to amp up my own game. So I guess I look at myself internally, my self chatter is with my team and the people I lead, even online and my mastermind, like I've got to be a leader and I've got to demonstrate for them as well. And if I'm not doing it, how can I expect anyone else to do it, including my own kids? So I'm trying, I always try to be meticulous with my own personal routine.
All right, TD, take me through this, because I've been a part of, through our times at Under Armour and Perform Better Circuit, I've been a part of your presentations and just watching the unbelievable energy come out of Todd Durkin and how you can just transform a room. Take us through behind the scenes. How do you get ready for that? What goes? What's your thought? That's your game day, right? What's your thought process? Because you go.
Sounds like you've been there and you know that, Dwayne.
No, man. No.
You know, you're asking some awesome questions, because I do have a very, very specific routine on quote game day. And that's what I say. It's game day. Anytime I'm taking the platform, whether it be in the fitness industry or I'm doing a keynote for a company, it's game day. Not only am I going to put in a ton of preparation, I would say somewhere between 50 to 100 hours for one talk is what it takes of preparation time, between the presentations, the handouts, the mental visualization of all of the things leading up to game day is what it takes to create an incredible keynote on that. And then the actual game day itself, to actually funnel and create that energy. It starts for me when I first get up. Number one, just like I always, getting my quiet time, and then I go to the hotel gym, or if it's here in San Diego, my home gym or Fitness Quest 10, and I get in a workout. I literally get in typically a 35 to 40 minute cardio light workout, and I just go through the entire routine of what I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it, or if it's a workout, what I'm going to do and the energy and the message I want to say. And then I go in and, get 20 minutes or so of actually strength work. By the time my own workout's done, I'm ready to go. Okay. Like I'm so dialed in that nothing else matters, and I'm really tunnel visioned on that. And I everything from my nutrition, my fuel of 2 hours before, I've got to be fueled up. I got to have my branching amino acids. I got to be ready and dialed in. I've got to have everything by hand. I've got my baggage of protein, because I know that my energy, when it's quote kickoff time, that I've got to be ready, because if it's a workout, it's going to be physical. If it's a talk, it's going to be an emotional and energy drain afterwards. So I've got to be really fueled up, and that's how I treat it. I treat it like Drew Brees treats a football game. It's game day and it's go, but it's not just show up and that. Here's what I do too, Dwayne. I don't care if there's 50 people in a room or there's 5,000 people in a room. I always ask myself, who's the one person going to be today? And that's the one thing I use so I don't freak myself out if it's a big group. I'm only speaking to one person today. There's going to be someone in that room. I know it. There's someone in that room that's struggling, that needs hope, that needs inspiration, that needs faith, that needs motivation, that needs to get their mind right. And that's always my just inspiration, to know that I don't know if it's going to be just one person or it's going to be, dozens or hundreds or maybe thousands. But the way I channel it is, I am going to pour into someone today more than they've ever been poured into, and I want them to feel it. They might not remember what I say, but they will remember how I make them feel.
Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you what, being on the other side of that, I can amen to that, right? Because I can feel you when you speak. When I came to visit you, I remember saying, in my mind, is he like this all the time? And that's how you were at your facility. We've often heard how you do one thing is how you do all things. And I know it to be true that Todd Durkin does it one way and one way all the time. Do you ever see Michael Jackson's This Is It?
No.
The movie that Michael Jackson made prior to him going on tour, and he never got to go on tour because he died. And it showed the practice and the rehearsal that went up, that he engaged in to prepare for that concert. This Is It was going to be a concert in London. They were going to do 13 shows. And it was unbelievable. The meticulousness, the detail, the focus, it was incredible. And that's, I'm saying, hey, TD's the Michael Jackson of training, man.
I like
How about that?
I'm
telling you.
Jackson, I like that.
And I always wanted to ask you the question, like, what do you do to prepare? And I'm thankful that you shared that with everyone. Shared it with me and shared it with everyone.
Well, the other thing too, and thank you, is I enjoy that process. I love the preparation.
Yeah.
I mean, as a speak right now on the podcast, like I'm preparing for, we have a big mastermind retreat coming up in the mountains in Utah next week. And I'm in final preparations for that. And I've put hundreds of hours into this. Why? Because I'm looking at every step on the schedule, from the transitions to the music to the video clips, because I want to create an experience that's impactful to them, that's going to change their life. And I think the level of detail, and goes back to the athletic days, my mentors, my coaches, the level of preparation and detail into a game plan is critical for success. And I love the process. I love the process from preparation to actual the working out to the actual game day. Game day is fun day.
Right.
And the process for me is like where I get to really kind of visualize and think and prepare of how I want to create that experience.
All right. So since we're on preparation, and you mentioned your mastermind group, which I know is an elite group of trainers, tell us how you go about putting together that event to create this epic experience for them and memorable experience. What's some of your thought process with that?
Yeah. So to give you a little background on that, we've got 2 big retreats per year, and I have an annual, I have one in the mountains. So I love the mountains. My soul sings in the mountains. I can get away. I can just think really big in the mountains. So we have 2 different retreats, and they both have different feels. And then I do this big 3.5-day mentorship, which is for non-mastermind members. And that's even yet different, a different vibe and experience as well. So what I always do is I sit down and I have a whiteboard and I start basically framing up the entire experience I want to do. And I wireframe literally from start to finish all the way through, like what's the theme going to be? Like this theme coming up here is called #soul right. Like soul right. How do you get your soul right?
Gotcha.
So everything's around how do you get your soul right? Now, a man of get your body right, get your mind right, but how do you get your soul right? Because you can get your body right and your mind's not right, or you can have all 2 of those, but your soul's not right. How do you get your soul singing? Pastor T. Jakes has a great book on that called Soaring, I think it is. But
Soar.
It's a great book.
It's called Soar. Yeah.
And I love that book, but I love when it talks about what do you need to do to make your soul sing. So to me, it's literally framing up everything from the food that we're going to serve, to the socials we're going to have, to the interactions, to the hikes and everything else. Like, what can we do to go above and beyond? See, here's what I find, at least in the fitness business and beyond, most people are stressed out and they need some reprieve. Like, part of this is I'm going to lead my meditation. I do a lot of breath work and meditation, not only before I speak and present, part of my routine, but also when I'm at a retreat or an experience like this, I'll lead some meditation and breath work. Because you may say, well, Todd, you're always like this, high energy. The truth is I'm not. The truth is I actually need the exact opposite of that. And I'll do a lot of like Wim Hof type breath work. And to me, that's kind of my savior. So between the quiet time and the prayer time, the breath work, that's the yin to my yang. And I create that experience as part of like this retreat. And that's how I visualize, what do I want them to receive? What do they need that they're not getting now? Like at the mastermind, they get a lot of the yang, Todd, at the conferences. Most people don't see the other side, the yin side. So at the mastermind events, I show them the other side and how to get to that side, because some people just see what they hear on a podcast or on the Instagram or on Facebook or at a public conference. But how do you foster that? And that's not easy. So how do you create that? And how do you create these best practices and have the discipline to follow a routine that works, but sometimes you slip up? That's what I share at the retreats.
Oh, that's outstanding. So now you coach your kids, and family is one of your top 5 important things. Mm-hmm. What's that experience been like coaching the crew, Luke and the others?
So I gotta say, I love coaching my kids. It's driving me right now. Luke's 15. He's a sophomore quarterback. Brady's 13, and he plays lacrosse. And my daughter, McKenna, who's 10, she plays soccer, lacrosse, and basketball. And most of my time coaching right now is spent with my son, Luke, because I'm doing strength and conditioning for their high school team here. And they've been losers. They've been, 1 or 2 games, they'll win a year. So I went in this year, started coaching with the staff and said, we ain't going to stand for losing. We're going to change around the environment, and we are going to become champions. And I got to tell you, I wake up in the morning and I can't wait to go to practice.
Wow.
I can't wait to get to the weight room with them. And it's been such like, you talk about spirit soaring, like we stand right now at 4-3. We're going to win to, as I film this here, we're going to win tonight. We're going to win. We got a couple more, we got 3 more games, and I hope we win at least 2 of those 3 games. We'll shoot for all 3. But man, if we can get 6 wins this year, last year there was 2, we're teaching these kids how to be winners and how to think like a champion. That's the same thing I do with my kids, man. As long as you do your best, honestly, I don't care if you win or lose. You got to lay on the line. You got to learn how to compete. Like my 10-year-old right now, she had to do a speech today for the presidency, right? She's out there doing her talk. And I was like, listen, I don't care if you win or lose, but you got to prepare the speech and go over and over and over again. But I want our kids to learn how to compete. It drives me nuts in today's day, like just I think by showing up and getting awards and stuff like that. Like I don't love that, because in real life, it's about competition. It's not about winning or losing, but it is about competition and learning how to compete and how to play the game and how to play it right and wanting to win. And it's okay to want to win and to work to win. It's also okay to be a gracious loser, not to be a sore loser. So I'm teaching my kids how to win and how to bow when you take a defeat. Learn from it, journal what your mistakes were. How do you get better? So we get back in the drawing board, get back in the weight room. And when we're in the weight room, we're training, it's a lesson of life. Because when you get knocked down in business or when you're in a job, go to the weight room, go to the gym.
Yeah.
Go get your mind right. You got stressed, don't go out and drink. Don't go out and party and booze and do that stuff. Go to the darn weight room when you're 25, 35, 55, and go take it out in the weight room.
Yeah.
Go slam some iron.
Make that your sanctuary.
Absolutely. And it's easy, obviously, and we're preaching to the choir here, but like it's easy to take the easy route out. And we all know that's not always, the easy thing and the right thing ain't always the same thing. Okay,
here's a scenario. Not that this would happen to Luke. Say you're on the sideline. Luke throws a pick 6. I mean, God forgive me. I'm not. Hey, look, if he throws one tonight, this ain't on me, right?
I'm blaming on you.
Yeah. So look, if that happened, right, and let's say Luke throws a pick 6. He throws his hands up in the air. There goes the DB, zooming by Luke. Luke doesn't go after him. Kid scores a touchdown. What do you say to your son when he comes to the sideline?
I love this question. Well, here's the point. If he threw a pick 6 and watched the guy run by him, I'd go bananas. I'd go nuts. Now, if he threw a pick 6 and was running after the dude and laid out and tried to swipe his shoelaces, I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
Because you know why? I tell my kid I want them to go for the jugular. I want them to challenge the defense. I want him to make mistakes.
Right.
Because if he's playing too conservative, he's not going to be good.
Yeah.
So, and I tell the head coach that, like, listen, our quarterback and our team, they're going to make mistakes, and it's okay to make mistakes. We want to train not to. But if you play too conservative, you get beat. So it's not so much throwing a pick or even a pick 6. It's hustling after. But then also, after you throw an interception, how do you hold yourself?
Yeah.
Does your head go down?
Yeah.
Because if I'm a recruiter, if I'm a coach, I want to see how you handle yourself under adversity. And by the way, your teammates are going to watch you. And as the leader, as the field general, when you throw a pick, your head stays up, even if you want to put it down. Your head stays up and say, guys, that's on me. I got this. Next one. I got the next one. I got it. And put it on you. Because you're going to get, as a quarterback, you're going to get more praise when you win than you deserve. You get more blame when you lose than you deserve. So accept it. It's part of the territory. So be a little more humble when you win, and make sure when you lose, take some of the blame. And that's what that's what Luke's learning, and he's been around these guys at a higher level for his entire life. And I don't expect him certainly to be at that level. I want him to have fun in high school. But when he asked me, hey, Dad, in the summer to go throw the football, I'm dropping everything and going throwing the football. Because I'm like you. I watched your son, Dwayne, when he was running the ball, and I would have my jaw drop, when Amir and your boys were playing. I know that this too soon shall pass. And
quickly.
I am trying to capture every practice, every weight room session. And I know it sounds kind of like, just, okay, I've heard it before. No, I really am. Like, I know there's only a certain amount of games, and we've got a couple more years left, but man, before you know it, blank, it's over.
Now, let me ask you this question. How do you give him feedback, and when? Let's say after a game, if he didn't have a good game, or if he did have a good game, are you keen to presenting feedback or what you have to say in a certain time frame after a game? Do you give them time to debrief? How do you go about doing that?
We know it's interesting.
Yep.
Those that are listening who have kids know that every kid is different.
Yes.
And how I give Luke
Yep.
feedback is different than how I give Brady feedback,
Yep.
how I give McKenna feedback. See, Luke is a gym rat. Luke loves feedback. Luke listens to everything I say, and then he'll go in his room and he'll literally journal everything I say. Like, he really accepts that. My son Brady, on the other hand, he doesn't love feedback. He tries really hard in sports and he loves it, but he wants to be part of the team, and like, he doesn't have the insatiable appetite to, like, want to earn a scholarship. He wants to go to Princeton on an academic scholarship, and he wants to be part of the lacrosse and football team to say that he's on the football team and lacrosse team and that stuff. Like, and he'll accept it, but he's like, Dad, did you see we were high-fiving, we were having a blast. He could care less about anything else. And McKenna, my daughter McKenna, she accepts feedback differently too. I mean, I joke around that she's part beauty and part beast, because she's nasty, dude, on the field. She's hitting girls like she shouldn't hit girls. I'm like, dude, you can't do that. And inside of me, I'm smiling. She loves feedback. And at the same token, she'll go out and she'll dribble her soccer ball and juggle and everything else. All three kids are different. The question was about Luke. He loves feedback. I'm always sensitive to also when we're not talking football, because I've been accused by my wife and daughter. Sometimes we talk too much football at the dinner table. And it's sometimes a habit, because I love football and the boys love football. So I'm very sensitive at the table when we're breaking bread to make sure I'm asking about soccer practice and Melanie's day as a teacher at the college or whatnot. So it's precious time. And that's the one thing I learned from my father in the 20 years I had with him, was it's about time.
Sure.
And I'm not sure what Luke's going to remember about the time I spent with him. But I do know this, is he's going to remember that I was there when he threw 3 touchdown passes or he threw 3 interceptions. I'll be there, and I'm going to love him the same. It doesn't make him a better man or young man or not. It's just about pouring into your kids and doing the best they can do.
Have you had the moment yet where you've had to outsource some of the things that you're capable of doing and providing to your son or daughter with respect to any aspect of training, where you've had to say, okay, look, you know what? Can you take this? Can you train this person to do this, or train this person, my kid, to do this? Because I'm dad, and they're just not listening anymore.
Yeah.
Sound like I've been there on this one, huh?
I know, you know it. You know what? Honestly, with Luke, Luke really, really respects the work that I do, and he wants to work with me. He loves working with me in the weight room with all the quarterback mechanic stuff. He's seen me work with all the quarterbacks I work with on that stuff, and he's never like, okay, that's dad versus coach. When it's coach time, I'll coach him up, and then when it's dad time, I'll be dad time. It's just, I think every kid is a little bit different. Luke's always wanted to work with me on that stuff. Now, I have other quarterback coach friends that he loves, and occasionally we'll go see them as well. And I think sometimes hearing it from a different voice is good and healthy, as long as we're not teaching 2 different things on that. So we've been to quarterback camps and other quarterback coaches also on that. But Luke loves working with me, and Brady as well. I mean, Brady and McKenna both.
That's awesome.
I know there might be a day where, hey, Dad, I want to go see Dwayne for speed training or whatnot, or, and I'm cool with that. But I think there's a great respect there that they see me working with the athletes I work with and know my knowledge base, and know that I cannot just always bring it home. Also, that like Brady, I don't want to bring his practices and games back into the house. When he's in the house, he doesn't really want to talk sports. He wants to talk his business enterprise someday of having an amusement park or going into he wants to be the president of the United States. Like, he wants to talk about politics and stuff. And and I love that. Right. So every kid's different. I guess what I'm saying is you just got to know your kids, and you got to take them with where they're at and try to laugh and smile and have some fun with them.
You know, what's interesting, personally speaking, Amir went to college, and we going into senior year, we were having a little conflict with training because I was saying, no, we got to get this done. You're getting ready to play at a high level, blah, blah, blah. And I think he wanted some space after having been trained since he was 3 years old. But anyway, he goes to college and experienced other strength coaches and other methodologies and approaches. And he came back home and was like, Dad, you know what? Dad, can we train like we used to train? And I'm like, sure, son. Open arms. Let's go. But that's awesome. So what's next for the Todd Durkin and Fitness Quest 10?
Great question. Well, what's next right now is I'm working on another book project.
Okay.
That hopes to come out in 2019.
Nice.
If all goes well. On that, again, I love writing, and I feel that's one of the best things I can do from a legacy standpoint. I'd like to have some live events around that book project if it comes out middle next year, where I love serving people who want to get better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just trainers and coaches, and I love working with trainers and coaches. Gotten to a point, through a lot of my speaking, is I'm working with a lot of high-level executives and high performers now, and I'm doing this new episode, this new series called the Mind Right Maniacs, and I'm doing I look at it as my own TV show, and I create this Mind Right Maniac episodes each and every week, and I'm enjoying that, and I'm having fun with that, and I'm really trying to stay immersed in staying in the moment and not always looking so far ahead, because I am strategic about where I want to go. But I spend 80% of my time right now at Fitness Quest 10 and 20% doing other things, other business ventures and that. I see over the next few years, still staying very immersed at Fitness Quest 10, but a lot of demands and opportunities are also, taking me away a little bit from just always being in the trenches, because I'm still spending 15 to 20 hours a week when my athletes are in town training my athletes. But I'd see over the next several years of, maybe 7 to 10 hours of training per week, and then more writing, more speaking, just more live events. I love live events. There's nothing that moves my soul than I'm up there trying to change people's lives and lighten a spark under people's backsides on that stuff. And that's just not in the fitness industry, although that'll always be part of my life. That's in many different occupations, careers, and domains also.
What type of services do you provide to the high-level execs?
Well, number one, keynotes. So if it's a conference, if it's a company, it's depending on if it's an organization like YPO or a group like that, then it would be keynotes. But then I'm also in the midst here in 2019 of launching an impact coaching program for high performers. So this will not be for fit pros. That's the Mastermind, and a coaching program that I'll be leading my team of people who we will be creating that coaching program for high performers and executives. And that's everything, including fitness, nutrition, supplementation. I have a 10 forms of wealth balance wheel. I don't know if you remember that or not, but the 10 forms of wealth not meaning money, but wealth of body, mind, and spirit. And then working off of that to, number one, not only goal set with people, but then actually to hold them accountable to best practices and continually filtering them world-class motivation and inspiration to make sure that they're dialed in too.
Oh, that's outstanding. How's Jersey doing? As we come to a close, how's Jersey doing? I'm not a dog guy. I gotta admit, I'm sorry, people, but Jersey, man, I love him.
Yeah, he's my boy. I actually, he's been getting gypped a little bit lately. I don't know if I told you, I've been battling this knee issue I've had. I got to get it cleaned up here in November. And Jersey hasn't been getting the walks or runs that he's been accustomed to. So he's been feisty. And, so Melanie, my wife Melanie, has had to take him out a lot more now. And every morning he howls and that stuff to get out for his walk. And I just look at him and say, brother, when I get a new bionic knee here coming up in another month or two, you are going to be the best shaped dog in San Diego. So you know what? The one thing I love about dogs is every single day when I go home, a good day or bad day, that dog is wagging his tail. He's wagging his tail. And one thing I always tell my athletes is wag your tail. Wag your tail. Every day, good or bad, wag your tail. Man, that dog he's loyal, he's obedient, and he's happy to see me. And I always say wag your tail because man, sometimes life beats you down and sometimes it knocks you to your knees. The one thing I would share with anyone that's fighting through adversity today is know this: it's all about perspective. And if you've got anything going on in your life, realize that it could always be worse. It could always be worse. I have a good friend. Just last week, he was in a very, very horrific car accident. And unfortunately, he lost his leg.
Wow.
And he's dealing with this adversity in his life. And I said to him, listen, man, it could be worse. It could be worse. And he was wondering, like, how the heck could it be worse? I said, number one, you could have lost both legs.
Mm-hmm.
Or two, you could have lost your life. Nowadays with technology, prosthetics are amazing. They even look cool. And you can get back and do amazing things. I think sometimes, kind of like when my father died, and my parents going through divorce and going through tough times and my back injury, sometimes our biggest setbacks are our greatest monumental points in our life that allow us to come back stronger and allow us to live a life worth telling a story about. So just a reminder for anyone listening in today, whether it's a young man or woman who's battling anything, is to make the right choices and do the right things. And if adversity smacks you straight in the face, know that your purpose is deepening and your impact is going further, and it will go further. You have to embrace it. Don't just fight it, embrace it, learn from it, and then see, as you pray about it, man, how can I use this story to impact more people? And I believe when you do that, then your purpose deepens, and then all of a sudden you go on this crusade to try to positively impact more people.
Yeah, man. Tell you what, I got goosebumps. Feel like I'm sitting right there in one of Todd Durkin's live events. I appreciate you. So where can we find more of Todd Durkin?
I'd say just two things. You can go to todddurkin.com. Todddurkin.com is my website. I would encourage anyone listening in is just go to my free Mind Right Maniac video. Go to doseofdurkin.com, doseofdurkin.com. I drop those Mind Right Maniac videos every Monday. You get them at 6 a.m. in the morning. You can have them texted to you or emailed to you. But I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, YouTube, all that good stuff. todddurkin.com or go to doseofdurkin.com.
Well, Todd, I want to just thank you from the bottom of my heart just for sharing your heart, sharing your mind, sharing your perspective, just sharing you. I think people listening to this are going to be inspired just like everybody else is who's touched by Todd Durkin. So I want to thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Boy, did TD hit it out the park. I'm so thankful he shared himself with us today. Todd shared many insightful thoughts and strategies on how to achieve excellence in life. Here are 3. He talked about identifying the 5 things that move his soul. One of them is writing, and that's something he does 30 minutes every day. 2, talked about prioritizing. He said if you want to see someone's priorities, just take a look at their calendar. 3, he talked about how can I best use my time right now. He emphasized that right now is the most important thing that he has, and he's very, very careful and deliberate with how he spends his time. There were many, many more insightful nuggets that Todd shared today. I hope you write them down. Thank you for tuning in. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. It would really, really mean a lot to me. It would mean a lot to what we're trying to accomplish in terms of spreading the knowledge. Share it, tag it, do whatever it takes to spread the good word. And in the meantime, in between time, have a blessed day.